A few of you have pointed out that I'm still using my old cylinder. This is correct, but something's just arrived today, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, Vega Technology took my other iMac and have basically cloned it with the cylinder, and today they're going to fit it. So basically I get to kind of go to lunch and maybe hang out at my favourite stationery shops. Let's do some control tests with the cylinder. This is a good test case, this kind of Abbey Road project that I've been working on. It's certainly the most number of notes for the most number of instruments I've written in a while. So lots of lovely short notes, there's legatos in there, there's longs, percussion, all of that kind of stuff. So quite system intensive. I'll just give you a quick burst. So what I'm going to do, unusually for these tutorials, is I'm actually going to switch off ScreenFlow. We've really struggled putting tutorials together with kind of massive alphas, you know, really early stage tech running on computers with ScreenFlow running in the background, and suddenly you get all of this clicking and dropouts and all that kind of stuff. So I've taken it off, I think, as a fairer way of us really kind of understanding the grunt of these beasts. So I'm using this side cam here to keep a vague eye on what I'm doing. So I guess the first test I should do, 56 instances of contact running, one mic, which is the tree mic, which is my favourite one, and the piece is 3 minutes long. So, you know, a medium-sized, very busy queue. We're running at 24-bit 48K. So here we go. So I make that probably 34 seconds bang on. Okay, so I guess a way I can try to break it is by just piling in loads of reverb. So we're using the FabFilter Pro. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a massive hog, but it is a reverb. How long is the tail? Let's up that a bit to something ridiculous. This is going to start sounding horrid. Getting a little laggier. You know how you become sensitive to these things. Hence, I know you like your mixes wet, but this is just engorged. Yeah, it's feeling a little bit molassesy now. Even the scroll bar there is starting to get... Right, I don't have safety glasses, so I'm going to put this on instead, just in case it blows up. Okay. That's my kind of mix. Well, that's a bit astonishing, really, isn't it? Should we try some Space Designers? Space Designer. Oh, I didn't realise I did it to all of them. Okay, come on. Little bit. I don't know if you can see over there. Little bit stickier, but the meters are all staying. What would happen if I were to duplicate all of that? I mean, this is staggering that it's allowing me to do this. It's like it's going, I know what you're going to do, I know how to do it. This has been a fun morning. I'm going to go into the shed and try and make my computer go on fire. I've actually got, like, retrospectively, so much more respect for the cylinder than I ever did have. Okay. So I'm going to hit go. So just to remind ourselves, 112 instances of contact and 112 instances of the FabFilter Pro reverb and 112 instances of Apple's Space Designer convolution reverb. So one algorithmic, one convolution. It's just absolutely staggering. I can't break her. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fully load all the mics. at least 3 microphones live on every instrument. So I've basically tripled the amount of voices. Okay, let's hit play. Just maybe at a couple of points, I heard some voice stealing. There's no doubt that the reverbs are working okay. So, I mean, this is actually becoming quite difficult to kind of get to a limit, really. Okay, so 112 instances of contact, running all microphones, lots of notes playing simultaneously, 112 instances of FabFilter reverb, and 112 instances of Space Designer. So this is evidently much more sticky. The point around here, I think, where we got the channel stealing, that should theoretically go slower than time itself to calculate. By my calculations, though, it's bouncing it quicker. It's 3 minutes long, this piece, so it's bouncing it quicker than it would play it live, which suggests that we're not up against the CPU limit to me, my very kind of rudimentary understanding of these things. 2 minutes 35 seconds. Very excited to be back at the shed. Yellow Technology have been working hard all day to get the iMac Pro fitted. Now, for those of you who've not been watching this vlog, Yellow Technology are a firm that do studio wiring and make bespoke stuff like patch bays and all that kind of stuff. Incredible people, but they've also basically ensured that I'm not going to have any downtime with my iMac. Hiya!
Afternoon.
How you doing?
Very well.
How's it all going? Look at it. Is that what you do for all the clients?
No, only for you.
This is not the first one that you've installed in a studio. What's your feedback on the iMac Pro? Because this is, I think, it's a burning question for us media composers.
It's not the first, but it's one of the first.
Okay, right.
Yeah, we've had a couple in the workshop beforehand, doing some testing and stuff, making sure that everything's working.
And what's your view on the performance?
Speedy.
Right.
Very speedy. Yeah.
And Vicky, you've set this one up.
Yeah.
So what kind of process has that been?
So I cloned off your old Mac Pro, and I've just migrated that onto here. That's basically it so far, and then obviously you've got all your external drives for everything else.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's pretty much just been your system drive. So it's been fairly straightforward.
Did you use the Time Machine program to grab all of the data?
No, I used Carbon Copy Cloner, which we just find more reliable for that kind of thing.
Oh God, it's on the thing as well. It's on the arm. So futuristic. Love it. So that's an add-on that you buy. That's an Apple add-on, is it?
Yeah. So they do a clamp for the back of it. There's a little special card and stuff that you use to take the old leg off. So
Great.
you can use you can use this as an ornament or something.
And then we've got these are your recommended USB hubs. So there's a one
and
USB
2, one on the left, and then OWC one on the right.
So I'll see you a little bit later, probably at the pub. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. So here we are. Beautiful screen, I have to say. However, it does feel very, very small. I feel very constricted. Even though I've got this extra height, I really got used to the wide aspect. So I may have to get a couple of accompanying screens, which is a little bit of a backward step for me because inevitably it's going to cover my line of sight to the speakers. And if it covers my line of sight, it covers the air going to my ears. It does affect the sound. With the widescreen, I still had full clearance to the speakers. So that's something that's going to take some getting used to. But let's see how this one grunts. First of all, let's load up our first bench test. This is 56 instances of contact. I didn't time this on the last one, but I think some of you have requested load-in time, so here we go. Okay, it'll still be loading in the background, so roughly 54 seconds there. I don't know if that means anything, but that felt like a reasonable load-in time. I have no doubt that she'll have no problems playing, but... That does actually feel a lot more responsive. I mean, I still miss the Atari ST days when you hit it and it went. So the first test we did was to bounce this arrangement down, 56 instances of contact playing, far too many notes, just running off a single mic position, all running tree mics. So let's bounce that. Here we go. Now, if we recall, on our Mac Pro, it took 34 seconds to bounce. It does look like it's powering through. So just under 24 seconds, 23 seconds. So the amount of kind of CPU crunching, I think, is going to offer us diminishing returns for this kind of application, because what it's actually trying to do is stream masses of stuff off disk. Okay, so let's put the final bench test in, which is 112 contacts, 112 algorithmic reverbs, 112 convolution reverbs. So for this one, what I'd also like to do is listen to see if the fans fire up. So naturally, our concerns are it creating noise in a noise-free environment. So if we have a look here, all of that duplicated regions and all of those reverbs and space designers, as I say, a wrong amount of reverbs. Does it play? So what I would say immediately about this, again, it's down to feel. It doesn't feel like it's complaining like a petulant teenager. The other Mac Pro, it was a bit like, are you taking the fucking Michael? So I think this is an improvement. You know, quality of life is I can zip around. It feels like it's just totally handling it. So that's really refreshing. That is an improvement. You know, I think for the last couple of years, you know, I do feel it starts feeling like it's really chugging it out when you're getting to this kind of very, very big arrangements. And so let's do our final kind of bench test against the control test. Let's start. It starts off quickly, but then it just starts to get a bit more chuggy as we move in. So on the Mac Pro, this took 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So 2 minutes 9, a 26-second saving. So I think this is very interesting. Final little thing, I'm just going to switch the speakers off, just check the fan noise. This is running in real time, so imagine we were needing to record a quiet harmonica just here over the top of this track. Would the fan noise interfere? So I think we're 100% safe there, which is great news. So what I'm currently getting from this is what was really surprising about the tests I did with my cylinder, which is now down there, was that I really couldn't break it. I couldn't get it to the limit. And I think with the cylinder, we've already worked into computing a redundancy way beyond any kind of normal scenario, you know, requiring 200 odd reverbs is really beyond the pale. So I think from that, it's really encouraging because the Mac Pro, the cylinder is still available and is considerably cheaper than the iMac. And for me, I do think I've made a really good investment here because clearly I'm not going to outgrow the capability of this computer for a long time. I think that the reason we have this redundancy is these computers are being spec'd for people working in 4K, in 3D. And I think that we've basically found the outer limits of what is required for what we do, certainly at 48K in stereo, but I even believe in 96K, 5.1, we're safe. However, I think that really things prove themselves over time. So I'm going to do a slightly longer term review of the iMac, and I would love to know any tests that you want me to carry out other than us running a bunch of contacts and bouncing out with some reverbs. I also have an idea. And what I'm going to spend the next few days doing is creating the world's biggest orchestral palette, other than Hans's. Internal palette in an iMac, world's biggest palette.